True. Yeah, true municipality.
Oh, true, okay.
Mr. Chairman, that I would approve the minutes.
Motion to a second?
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. 3-0. Any committee reports, Louis?
Well, that was quick. I have a purchase order. It is for re-roofing that flat section of roof that goes out to the back courtyard. It's Diamond Everly Roofing, which is who did our other flat roof a couple of years ago. And we actually got several bids. The locals won't do our type of roof. They give us a warranty. So, it's not a local company, it's Lawrence, but this is the best price.
Capital outlay fund or? Is that out of your
I think it's out of operating. I think I put it in operating, but I also have a capital reserve fund that we put money into, so
Yeah.
if I itch close to, we'll lose that money. This storms this year, we really thought we were gonna be able to push it, but once
We
we're
got
in
tested this year with the rain.
Oh, we did, and we're getting a lot of rain inside right now, so, over that flat area. So that's it.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
While you're here, a couple of questions. And Tom, is there something that we can do with the new CIC system? I mean, I think she's talking about in order to reconcile your account, something about getting copies of checks, or if you've got the bank statement with the check, maybe would that help you, or is this an issue that we need to be helping you with?
I think there's a lot of things with this new system that we need to figure out how to do, and I think that they probably can do it, but we're not there yet. This is what happens is that, she enters all the bills.
Right.
I can't go into her technically and check what she's entered. So if she was a dishonest person, which I know she's not, she could pay herself $1 million, and guess what? I won't know it until everything's posted, which takes about 2 months down at this end. So I just now entered my June because it takes that long to get. So I just reviewed June and was able to balance my account. And I found some discrepancies, and so I have to enter some things for West to take out of this account and put in this account. So that is an issue. I can't, you get to see all the bills before you pay them. But unless I take those as password, which is what I've been doing, and log in as her, I don't get to see what we're paying. And I imagine every other department has the same way if they have someone else entering.
I guess this is something, when we go to that symposium, I think this is the one thing I like. I mean, if that's an issue, it's something that maybe they need to look at.
And that's what I'm thinking. I think we're going to find the things that we need to look at. The other thing is that if someone says, this bill has not been paid, we don't have a way to check to see if it's been paid until it's posted, which takes 2 months. I mean, it has to be all reconciled down here before it shows up in the budget portion. So we can't see it. So I got to see June, the first part of August. Well, that doesn't tell me a lot if I've got a vendor that says this hasn't been paid. So instead what we do is we call, Linda, can you check and see if this has been, Linda, can you, Linda's been extremely helpful. She follows things up and checks for us to find out what's clear, what hasn't, but then we have to find out who else was on that same check. So if the bill was paid, and say it paid something for road and bridge, and something for us, and something for, or something. And we've got to find out whose account at that vendor it got posted to. Because the vendor doesn't always look and see what needs posting where. They just see the first thing on the account, and they post everything to somebody else's account.
So are you sending anything from down that, is that tomorrow?
I didn't know what was happening,
Okay.
so,
Well,
it
yeah,
would be a good thing.
I think it's still, I don't think it's too late.
okay?
I mean,
Well,
Pauline,
this was
you
the one that
going?
emailed, huh?
You going, aren't you? Is tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday?
Come back Friday afternoon.
Okay, so, and
I
we're.
mean, if you think it'd be
Wichita.
beneficial.
It's in Wichita, so it's, okay, well, I need to look and see if.
Yeah, talk.
At the very least, you know, if you can't attend, you know, I would say relay it to,
Wes, what you want, so that they can, because I think, my understanding of those meetings, that's what they're gonna discuss. With our support money that we pay,
Right.
that's, if there's new changes in software, that's where that money gets used, but you have to vote. I mean, it's as a group, we're in CIC, you know, your idea may not be
Somebody else's idea.
but it may be
Sure.
something they can identify and help you.
And it might be already out there that
It
they
might,
can do it, I don't know.
it might, and I don't know, yeah, yeah.
we ought to be able to reduce the time down instead of 60 days, once we probably have one set of books, because once Chile goes off of Manatron and Manrine, then we're gonna have one set of books, right?
There's just a lot of problems, because some of it's electronically moved over,
Mhm.
or if they don't get something from like Courtney on these Lawrence accounts, then that's where our problem, or if they don't get posted right, then you can't balance out that the daily statement.
When you say when they don't get posted, right?
Well, like there were some journal entries that were posted, but they were not posted. You know, when you do a journal entry, you gotta do a debit and a credit equal, and these journal entries were not, and I don't know why.
The system doesn't do that.
Journal entry, but I think now that Sheila's doing the journal entries only, that it should be better. It's just,
It takes time, new systems take time, and part of it is figuring out who does
see,
what.
we're on the last end, so
Yeah.
we're the one that catches all of this.
Right, and if,
Right, yeah, yeah.
right, and if someone in my department makes a mistake, I would love to say, I will never ever make a mistake, but she will.
You
and
have
I
to,
found
with that,
some.
yeah.
I found some that were posted to this account, I need to be able to move it. So somewhere along the line, I have to.
Ask Wes if you can get vendor history inquiry. If you can do vendor history, then you can go to the vendor and look to see if something's been paid to them.
Okay.
Ask him if you could do that.
Yeah.
Or he could do it for you.
He's shown me how I can pull up each voucher that I've paid, but only the vouchers that I paid. I can't look at anything that other people have paid until it's posted down.
Well, ask him, I mean, vendor inquiry would just be vendor inquiry.
Okay.
You can't get into it,
Yeah.
anything.
I'll ask him, yeah.
I don't know why you couldn't.
So, and our other issue, and West Elmsville is a payroll issue right now. Payroll is just given to us by a whole department, and my federal mandated reporting requirements, I have to do it by position. So I have to have amount of money paid by position, but also the amount of workers' comp paid by position, the amount of, federal taxes, FICA, everything by position. And at this point, we only can get it by all the rest of
The whole department.
What?
Yeah, the whole department.
Right, so, and Wes is aware of that one, so CIC was supposed to try and get something to us, right, there's probably wrong.
Well, the report,
that's one.
yeah, but it doesn't have.
By position,
Yeah.
by position,
Yeah.
because for us, the way Medicare pays, and the way Medicaid pays, it is, we get reimbursed differently for CNA, the employee versus the nurse versus, and it has to be Well, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Hearing is scheduled Thursday.
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Where are you? 1:30.
Yeah.
Gives me everybody some time. Have you? Good. Greg, you have a question or?
Yep. Well, you guys are dealing with the same problem I did, all this rain needs to quit. I got two bridges on 262nd and Sheridan, and the other one is, right off 6th Street. And I can't think of the name of that thing, it goes down to where Tom Reese lives. I've asked for riprap on both sides of them bridges for 4 or 5 years now going on, I've not got it. Now, all this rain we've been getting, it's worse. I did do the east side on the one on 262nd with our money, I filled it up. And that road is a disaster every time we get 3 inches of rain. And I don't know how much rain you've got out your way, but I've had about 14 inches in the last month and a half. And our roads are terrible. You know, and I talked to Matt on them signs, and you know, we couldn't come to an agreement on that. So you're gonna get phone calls about some of them roads not getting mowed. I know them.
They're county roads.
There's county roads, but they don't get mowed, and that's the old highway. And then right across from Pete and Ben Corkstein, that blacktop road that goes back around there, that's county. And I've been taking care of it. And I told Matt, I'm not gonna do it anymore. So, I mean, you know, that blacktop road that just goes to the gravel, but it's a mess. You know, they're gonna have to do something with it. But I would like to get some riprap. You know, on the both, I think it's on the east side of those bridges, on the south side. I mean, only one person lives up to one, but several people drive the other one. Well, it turns into where Michael Joy used to live, one of them. But, I mean, they're getting deep. I mean, he'd have done something 3 or 4 years ago, it wouldn't take near as much.
So you're saying he hasn't responded to you?
They ain't put nothing in there, trash, tree limbs and stuff.
But he hasn't actually responded to you?
Well, he's looked at them, but nothing's ever been done. You know?
So they're around the bridge, I mean, they're on Township Road, it's a bridge.
Yeah, they're wooden bridges, you know? Hopefully some down the road, they're gonna have to do something with them sooner or later. But it's the same kind of bridge you cross going up to your cattle. So, but, you know, I help him out a lot, you know, as much as I can. You know, I see it and I'm mowing, I just catch it while I'm going the road, I catch it and mow it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but another question I had, I posted the signs on Sheridan Road between 262nd and 258. They get a lot of fast traffic through there. So I posted 20-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. They had a 30-mile-an-hour. This was up by Kilkenny, it is old. So I got new signs up now. And I'd just like to see somebody check them every now and then. They got the 4-wheelers that run late hours at night through there real fast and stuff.
So you reposted it to me?
Yep, with children playing signs. Bessers have got grandkids down there to play, you know, and you can't watch kids all the time, you know, they will get next to the roads.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like, you know, just check them once in a while, maybe the sheriff's department could do that or something, you know. They had trouble with that before, once I think a Clem kid or something, down by Scotty's, was speeding and everything on the lower part, so. But you might have him look at them, and we'll see if they get some riprap in them.
You have you directly from him.
I got the one on 262nd, where the other was on 6th Street.
Yeah, you know, when you come down 6th Street and you turn left or right to the hospital, there's a little jog goes on down, Thomas lives up on top of the hill. There's a lot of water that comes off there. So, yeah, Tom Reese called me the other night, when it was pouring down rain, water jumping the curb going down his driveway. I said, what do you want me to do about it? It's raining now. you know, his deal was nobody told me to. I said, okay, I won't do it no more. But I mean, I saved him a lot of his time and expense, you know. Cause, you know, when I got Ernsons and Pennies and Lees mess with me about the one road, you know, or the trees, I got that big tree mower, so I mow it back, you know, so you get down there. But then, you know, it's a concrete road, you know, so you can't blaze or anything, but you kind of keep.
I'll be the
stuff
first
moving
to say, I
on.
think Ashton County is lacking in mowing right away. I know when you get down our way, it's September, October, and it should have been done a month, 2 months beforehand, but.
Well, I like to mow
I know
right.
they're busy, they're chipping the seeds.
Oh, yeah.
and it's a busy time of year.
I like to, you know, have a look nice right before Memorial Day, you know. And then I usually 3 times a year I get it. You know, what is it? September, Labor Day or whatever, you know. But, you know, it's an entrance into the city, so. But they just kind of abandoned it. You know, and I've heard other people say that they talk to him or whatever, there's no tax dollars down our area. They still pay taxes, you know.
That's not a very good answer.
No.
That's true.
I don't know if it's the truth, you know, that's hearsay, you hear all that.
I find it hard for me to say that.
It might not have been him the one, I don't know, you know.
Okay.
But I know you guys got your hands full, that road going down your place is terrible. But I mean, we haven't had any rain like this for a long time.
It had a pretty good shape, and we get another 3 or 4 inches.
And that's right, and they're all messed up
There
again.
it goes again.
Yeah. But something you might look at, you know, I mean, I noticed on the wall on 262nd, right there by Jenkins, they've been dumping tree limbs and stuff down in the ditch to try to plug it up. I don't know who's been doing that, but that road's a mess too. I mean, you've probably been up it before, and the east side of that orange washes out. But I won't keep you no more.
Well, thank you, sir, we'll read
Oh,
it now.
Have you heard any more on the water crossing down there? Has anybody looked, and you got with that guy that looked at it, or come up with a solution?
I haven't heard from Matt reporting
I
back.
think they've been down and looked at it, and what they decided to do, I'm sure it'd be two options, either fix it back up, you know, fix it back up, or else make it crossing out,
Yeah.
as far as that goes. I don't
All
think
right.
they can afford to put a new bridge back in,
No.
so.
All right.
I think the last I heard, Greg, was they was thinking about a tube, and then maybe making a low water crossing out of it, and that's, Matt had mentioned something to that effect, and that's the last job we talked about.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
First, motion to do a hearing for vacating the road 8, Township 6, range 20 east in Shannon Township. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the purpose for this hearing is to, any discussion or concern, on vacating, a road in, Shannon Township, it's in, section 8, Township 6, range 20 east. So, it's a public hearing, so, any comments?
I'm appearing on behalf of Mr. Hale,
Okay.
and he signed the petition. I think I've talked with the county councilor about some modifications to the proposed resolution. But otherwise, we don't have any objection to county proceeding. I know, and we're talking with Pat, the county surveyor hasn't looked at this yet, and I think he needs to, by statute, go through this and be sure everything's.
I think he might have already looked at it.
Oh, has he? Okay.
I haven't talked to him yet, but I think he's looking at it.
I was told downstairs that he'd signed off on it, so, but,
No.
No,
Roger.
Yeah, no.
David
no,
Clark.
Clark,
Dave Clark. He's,
up in Troy.
From Troy. And I think Mr. Henderson and I talked about some modifications to the proposed resolution. One of the descriptions.
Mr. Rawl, get a copy of the changes, or?
No, I'm just.
No, I haven't given it to, actually, the the statute that I signed here is not the correct statute. If you want. So I'm here, you're here on this? The statutes that are cited in chapter 58 deal with land that's platted. And so 68-102 and SAC are wet statutes. But that's a fairly minor matter. You have to make a determination as to whether or not there's a public utility for the road, whether there's a necessity for it at all, and whether or not there would be anybody that would be damaged or harmed by the vacation of the road. I would think you would want to have some testimony from the petitioners concerning that there aren't damages and that there, in fact, is not a road that is actually capable of being used there, that's been improved at all. What's missing from this, let me add a paragraph also that reserves any public utilities in the rights of way that they're currently using. I'm not aware of any out there, but just for, I think it's safer to make sure that we have that in there, just in case there happens to be some buried line because there was a road there that was platted.
It's not in here now, so that.
It is not, so I need to make that change, yes.
The other thing I mentioned, Mr. Henderson, in the legal description, I think would be clear if it says starting at the southernmost point of section 8. Because I think if we don't specify that, it affects other landowners.
Where would that be, Larry? Would that be?
After the word southernmost point.
On the second page, on the second page.
But it's on the first page also.
Oh,
It's
okay,
throughout.
so you've got that added, that's okay. That's the wording you want, I mean,
I beg your pardon?
that's the wording, you added that southernmost point, is that what you said?
I suggest that to Mr. Henderson.
Okay, so it's in here, okay.
Okay.
I'd probably suggest township and range be defined as well. It's probably 6 south, 20
6
east.
south, yeah.
20 east would be my assumption. So that way it lines up with all legal descriptions.
Yeah, what you see there is the description that was in the petition. That also 274 probably shouldn't have the T, it began with 274.
Yeah.
I think we can fix that. I think the notice that was given is adequate though, that people on notice of what area we're talking about.
Sure.
I do think you should get testimony from both of the petitioners though regarding, what's there and whether it's used at all and, whether anybody's going to be inconvenienced or damaged by the vacation of the road. Either of you?
To my knowledge, there was never a road even there. I didn't even know there was a road there. Dad and I pulled the old fence out and we dozed out, and then we had it surveyed, and the survey line is off, and then I was informed that there used to be a road there. I came to the appraisal's office, our clerk's office, and we discovered there used to be a road there, but the township committee wasn't even aware of a road ever being there. So, I mean, prior to dozing out, there was no real establishment of or visual effects of there being a road through there.
But there was no, did you say earlier that there was no record of that road ever being abandoned?
Yeah, there was no record of it being abandoned, so.
And the township didn't know really.
Yeah, they didn't even know it was ever there, so, cause it would have been a road every half mile on that mile stretch, so.
And so no other landowners will be affected by closing this road?
Albert Hale and myself, we both own, Albert Hale does own another 80 back there, but, and then it would end at, the closure would end at Pluckbone, but, I mean, from that point on south, the fence has been moved and put on the survey line that I had surveyed now, so. That's all I know about it.
And that's down by my place, and that's why I was wondering, why not close the whole thing? Why just close part of it, why not close the, the full stretch?
Hasn't been closed. It's supposed to be. Long time ago.
This house, south end's closed?
In Mount Pleasant Township.
Two different townships.
And two townships,
Two
yeah.
townships.
I just come up because he called me, he said it was open all the way through. I'm not sure it was open, but there's no reason to have our, because Marla and my cell phones down there together, and our fence is where it's supposed to be. But, if it's open, we might as well get it closed all the way through, that's why I come up here to see why we couldn't let it get closed.
Apparently, there's a record of it being closed.
I don't know of any record, but I know that they told me to put the fence in the middle of the road in Mount Pleasant Township.
Technically, should be a record somewhere, if it's been closed.
I've not looked at that at all. And how much south, just immediately south of this, or?
It'd be a mile continuing,
There's a mile stretch.
a mile south.
It's supposed to go to 262 road.
Is that whole road or just,
There's no road.
north of
there.
you?
It's just, it's right up my west line.
Yeah.
I bought Watson's Farm there, and it's on the west line, it joins Steve Marlatt. Used to be the logging place there, but, and it's just right south of Hales here, where it's out on him on the north. So,
There's a sign, no. There's a sign
So that's,
that
is that
says-
east of your Walden place, that what you're talking about? You don't know.
we'll go Walden, this one's east property line, Walden.
East part.
Yeah.
But I was on the, determined that it was all open clear through there still or whatever, and you're gonna close part of it, you might as well close it all, that's my opinion here.
Yeah, it should be. If it's not, but I don't know.
I don't know whether it was or not, but if you wanted to close it, you'd have to do another proceeding and another notice. So you could.
We'd have to get a petition for that too, wouldn't we?
Yeah, right.
That would probably be, even more than that, yeah.
To do that, I'm
A
sorry.
petition, if,
Do
we
that.
need to have another public notice that we've been closed. We can't include it in this because it hasn't been given.
Can you tell me if it's open or not, or can you tell me that?
I mean, apparently.
We'd have to research it, but
We'd have to
I mean,
research it to see what.
we couldn't find anything where it necessarily was closed in this last one, is that correct?
And it doesn't mean, I mean, he's saying that, you know, the farmers could have just put the fence down, not having a petition of close.
Well, there are statutes too about non-use of property, non-use of the roads and not use for a sufficient period of time when they were vacated. And so it may have been just determined that way by the landowners.
Our fence is supposedly where it's supposed to be at. It is, on our end of it, it's in the middle of the road or whatever. But,
Long time before much of it.
yeah, well, it was, 158, so we decided not to.
So we need to still make modifications before we get past this resolution, as
No,
well as
I don't-
testimony from.
I don't want you to take, I just do the public hearing today, I don't want you to make any I would
Okay.
suggest you not make any findings.
understand.
But, complete the public hearing,
So we have most of the changes suggested, so.
I think so. And I'll email it to you as well, so you can look at it before you do final.
Yeah.
This final closing be next week, following week, or?
Since we've got the public hearing, we just need to pass a resolution at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be too terribly long.
Well, I wanna get council to look it over before.
Sure. Sure. So, go ahead and close the.
Yeah, I need a motion to, close the public hearing for vacating road. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Well, just one thing, I don't like it.
first we need to make sure that there's a road there. Are those records in your office, aren't they? So
So I can see calling in.
yeah, you might make an appointment for to look at it.
The record on establishing the road that we're talking about here today talks about going all through section 17 also.
Actually, I don't know whether any other parts of it ever been vacated.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's what Pauline Davis is. Road records aren't the best.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And it doesn't say width. Do we know the width?
I don't think we ever found a width.
I beg your pardon?
I don't think we found any width of the
Okay.
road.
I know that there was case law that said when there wasn't a width, it was whatever the road standard was, by statute at that time, but I've not looked it up, but I don't think it matters if we're vacating it, does it?
Right. Well, except that it's going to revert back to the adjoining landowners.
That's
That's a different issue.
pure issue, though, not.
Probably get things in Norm Bowers, with some case.
Yeah, I found a really good article about it that I can send it to you if you want to see it.
Okay, so close public hearing, we're gonna make modifications to the resolution, before we can pass the resolution, then have both of you review it, as well as testimony drafted on, adjacent landowners, which obviously there are, but, and then, Gary, you're gonna need to set an appointment with Pauline and review that, and then we need to set, a public hearing before we could vacate that remaining of the road.
If it exists.
Correct.
Yeah, it exists, whatever. If it doesn't exist, you're not gonna let me close it. I mean, I'm not gonna let them guys close their road. I mean, how can I go against it just because the road not so clear through? If you close it all or none of it's going after, you know.
Noted.
Well, that might slow you guys up a little bit, but
Well, that would be up to you. I mean, you don't need unanimous consent of the population to do it. You're just hearing testimony today, or hearing what the public has to say, so that would be up to you.
So Pat, does that mean then that since we've heard testimony, the commission's heard testimony today, then there'll be a proposed resolution, and then is it, I guess I'm not sure where that leaves with Beaver's, Gary's comment, or since it's all one resolution establishing the road.
There's nothing before the commission about vacating any other portion of the road that is in these two
Okay.
sections.
All right.
Or quarter sections or whatever it was, so, I wouldn't think, they don't have the authority to order anything else closed or open today. That would require a new petition to be filed, because notice has to be given to the adjoining landowners and to the public. Because there's, the determination is whether there's a public utility, so it isn't just simply whether the adjoining landowners use it, but maybe some member of the public use it for access, which seems really unlikely here since there's nothing on either terminus to get to. But we have to give that legal notice before we can vacate a portion of the other road. And I don't even know whether that road's open, whether it had already been vacated. It sounds like maybe it has. So we'll have to look into that.
But I understand Mr. Carney's comment is he would object to this closure unless it's the whole thing.
Well, they got that.
Okay.
They understood that. So.
Okay.
And they would have to make their decision on how they would vote on the resolution.
I didn't know if there would be another time where they would get together to make that consideration and how that would handle.
You can put it on the agenda for next week, we've talked about it a little
Okay.
bit. About the Vanderbilt Trust.
Oh.
And we have a desire to continue the trust as we've discussed, and, I don't know if there's like, well, we can certainly talk about it now.
Well, I think the concern I need to, the Attorney General's office is asking me to address is, okay, we continue the trust, we change the trustees, we remove the restrictions, but they're wanting some assurance that whatever funds are in that trust are going to be segregated from.
Yeah, and that's where I suggest that we create a separate fund, like we have typically in the past, like whether it's special highway fund, et cetera, we can call it, you know, Cedar Village Banner Trust Fund. I mean, I think it could be something, I think that's simple, I don't think we need to make it.
Okay. I can report that to the Attorney General's office, and then maybe we can get this moving forward and get it done.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
What do you need, something specific, or do we need, should we?
Do you want us to draft something in writing for you on that?
If something from Pat, just that's the indication as county counselor, that would help me send it to the Attorney General.
Like a paper trail or something.
Right.
Okay.
That's a good point. Okay.
Anything for that?
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Get an email in there, so.
I don't know if we'll be that quick, but, yeah, well, I'll do that Thursday, yeah. I don't know if the other providers
We're responsible to maintain the rural fire department's vehicles.
Yeah.
Which department is it in? It's regular be over there. The other page is non-official.
Is it from, is it rescue from
Yeah,
Effingham?
yeah, I think it's, and I'm not sure if I got it
give it to fire district schools? Yes. Well, yeah, they are, too far. Some of them got names on them.
No, maybe, they're just probably,
Okay.
I don't know, it's really, timing of them is brutal.
So what's your opinion?
That should be the last ones we have.
No, that wasn't even on there, so that wasn't paid. I don't know why then.
There should be a whole lot left of those.
I think one more, longer than 20 days, because I think that they're getting a couple done next week.
I think Kyle said something, just, the rider got changed over like today or
Yeah,
yesterday.
today. I'm gonna ask, Wes about this, because it wasn't paid this time, so it must be for something that's gonna be paid next week.
Yeah, if it come out of fire, it'll have to go to fire district, it needs to go back to them.
That's what I would say.
Can I see it, please?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for the short notice, but I just got a letter in the mail today, it's gotta be back to the state by next Tuesday, so I have no choice but to come up today. The, HRRR project, the, on 262, 3 intersection project, it was let, and, the winning bid was $270,214.73. The KDOT engineer's estimate was $282,692, so it came in a little bit under budget. I have a letter here, it's the authority to award contract, to the state, or to the, actually, to the, it's Leavenworth Excavating and Equipment Company. And then also, our share will be $29,900 or 10%, and, that is due by 9/11.
Is that line a legal or a marking or is it
I'm not sure. I've never really heard of it, to be honest with you. They only 2 people bid it, and the other person was from Waverly, Missouri. But that would be back by to the state by next Tuesday. And with that, I've got a PO here for $29,900 to KDOT.
Is that coming out of your operating budget, or?
Well, I was gonna see if, we wanted to take that out of that, special city county, the gas tax fund, or what I was planning on taking out.
I'm for that.
While you're up here, Mr. Graham is here, and he said he'd like to have some riprap on the south side of 266 Second Bridge, he would want that real bad, and then
gave me that back this falling, but you didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Didn't do anything.
Oh.
I'll be honest, our road mowing is black, but this time of year, you're chipping and sealing, and you can only do so much. And the way, the way it's raining, you can mow every day, and 2 weeks from now, it's ready to mow again. Seems like the more you mow, the more it needs to be mowed.
Well, maintain the intersection, that's a safety issue, that's a big thing as far as that. On both sides, yeah, for it really was, but the intersection is more you want it more than anything.
So we'll get with Jack and get that on the agenda about that speed limit?
Yeah, I think we should.
Is that next Tuesday? Did you ever say what road it was?
I rode right there, just St. Pat's, from the highway, or Mary West, going west to St. Pat's, and then over there someplace. Myers, did his name Myers? Yeah, Ron Myers, I believe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think his name is Ron Myers. I don't know where it is, but that's the name.
So it's 238.
Okay.
Sounded like there was a ways off the highway, to the road.
Yeah, that was from Sheridan to, I think,
Not to the,
Did you, what did you wait or do
no,
something?
they'll just start to like shit.
But that's still.
I just find it.
I mean, if they moved down,
Just let me know, we're still there.
I don't want to get into the law. You know, it's more like that, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
why I understood it, so.
West Lansing responded that, they don't have any vehicles for rescue. The only one they have is that, they have that ambulance and, so
Well,
we'll
sure, they don't expect us to, we donated to them and fix it up or whatever, did they? Well, then they do.
I wouldn't think so.
If we see it there again, that's time to pay.
Well,
I don't think she said it was issued to be paid.
Oh.
thing is, it says bill to Atchison County, too, that was part where it might probably ended up. The shipping address had the fire district on it, but the billing address had our address.
So it's just maybe it's the.
Also, I just got this also, we can talk about this next week, and I'll give you this, you can look it over. I had Chris Black come up and look at the bridge down River Road, basically it was a field entrance that,
We asked them that one,
okay, well, I just got that, and, so, you can read that in your spare time, basically, it recommends that we just go fix the island for now. He doesn't think we can get the permit for the water fountain. The only other, option is to replace the structure. So that's what I'm planning on, as soon as we get the chance to go down and fix the piling, just to get up and going for, these harvests and everything.
Is the brush cleaned up now or something?
Not yet.
Something else, we talked about it, Dennis Chase, do we need to have Matt at some point in time go up there on Balmers and get those shingles cleaned up to go against, fire after the landfill?
Interesting you should say that. I got in the mail we submitted our proposal to them back in June, I think. And then today I got a response of something that deadline to get it back was August 15th. So I got it today's mail. Anyway, I've read over it's a consent order. I read it over. I think it's acceptable. There's one real tiny change, and that is that the order says that we would do the cleanup at 5 separate sites. And we identified that we had 5 in order of priority, and we would do as many of them as we needed to do to come up with the $866.25, which essentially would be 3.5 hours. I'm sorry. And that property was the 5th one.
Is that right below Gus's home place there, is that what we're talking about? Right by the bridge?
Just on this side of that bridge on the.
Right there on the north ditch.
And all of these, of course, we would try to get the landowner to do the cleanup, and then we would do the remediation. They wanted us to, and they didn't do it. Or we got court order. So I have a final consent agreement.
What does that one change need to be made?
I think I can make that with Nancy Ulrich, their attorney, and then it's just adding 2 words, adding words up to. Instead of we would do 5, we would do up to 5 separate sites, which is what was in our proposal.
So how does this work? We will notify the landowner gets first, to clean everything up, and we go in and do it then? Is there any, do we have the right, do we have to do it in order so that we can trespass?
We'll do it in accordance, we'll do it at the same time we do nuisance violations. So if we brought an action for a nuisance violation, and they refuse to do it, then we can obtain an order from the court for remediation for us to do it. So we would have court oversight.
So we would proceed till we got the court.
Right, or we would have agreement.
They would do it.
Yeah, or if.
Or they
could
would
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
Right. We would either have a written agreement, or we would have a court.
Well, that was the thing that really did my mind is we need to make sure we have permission.
If we go out to that site too, I'll have to be out there.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Cause that, if we had it fast.
Well, we're not gonna just show up and start fixing something, or start doing some work without a lot of time.
So, I thought about that, do we pick another side?
Well, we had, I guess Chase, had gone through and prioritized the sites, focusing. Focusing on mostly the entryway out of the 60 on the city. So the Burkenshaw property, the Patterson property,
Better have a sheriff out there.
Monty Ball property, and Lorraine Mandalay property are on the backside from Warnock coming in, and then the Slattery property. Those were the ones that we had.
So have we not had any correspondence back from any of those owners?
We've had quite a bit of communication on some of them, and I met out there with along here.
Palmer.
No, from Northeast Kansas Environmental Services.
Dennis
Foster, yeah. We've met with a few landowners and talked to several landowners. And our plan is to set another day that we're going to be there to look around. If people want to do the best they can, if they don't, they won't. They don't have to. And then file after that. So, but that doesn't have anything to do with this consent order. As I said, I think it's appropriate Right, we only have,
With the names you mentioned, you can spend 3.5 days or so.
right, we only have to do up to, that's why I wanted to make clear that we weren't gonna fix all of every
Sure.
that's wrong with any of the properties.
So I got another question, Pat. Are we gonna go, after we do our work, are we gonna notify these people, either clean it up, or we're gonna court order, and we clean it up and then put it on their tax roll? Is that?
We don't have, we did not get the authority to do that, so if we do this, it's just given. I suppose the court can assess the cost as to it, but,
I guess I'm not talking about the fine so much as just cleaning up their community. They're probably two different questions.
We did not go that route. I know that's the route the city takes, and they used to file nuisance violations and go through the court proceeding. And they found it was easier for them to just do it administratively and go do the work and assess the tax back. And candidly, they have some experience doing this that we don't. I talked to Curtis Ewing some about doing it, and that was his suggestion to set aside the day really for everybody to meet if they wanted to meet. And but we don't have that authority. We can get it. I mean, if you wanted to adopt a resolution that would give you the authority to do that, we could sure do that. We would not adopt a resolution that gives us the authority to do that and assess the cost of actually property.
You heard my comment, with respect to the zoning, but in my thinking is, we're trying to clean the county up so that we don't go to zoning. We're giving them a chance to clean up on their own, because if you get enough people complaining, make it push for zoning.
The Z word comes into play.
Yeah, I don't really view this as anything having much to do with zoning. Because none of these uses would be allowed in any, just about any zone. I don't think open trash dump is going to be allowed. I guess it has to be allowed in at least one, because we have a dump that would have to be allowed in. It's not going to be allowed in agricultural, it's not going to be allowed in industrial, it's not going to be allowed in residential. And I don't think zoning can solve this problem either.
I'm surprised you didn't correct me, what you're supposed to do.
I've gotten so used to it being referred as that it just doesn't even raise any eyebrows anymore. Wow, transfer station. We do have a construction. We do have a landfill.
Well, but it's licensed as a.
Construction demolition.
Are you sure? I thought it was licensed as a municipal solid waste, we just put it in construction. That's why we cover it every day.
It's on top of a municipal solid, or it was originally a municipal landfill. It was filled, and our construction demolition is on top of that. So, for maintenance purposes, they're both, and that's kind of a pain. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have 2 copies of it if you want to.
If you make those two,
I'm not talking anymore. I was not in the office this morning.
I stopped by yesterday.
Yeah, I doubt she's going to have a problem with it, but I want to know if we have us back by Friday.
This is even though, I think.
do we need to have those two roads?
Well, it was addressed to the commissioner, so I'm assuming yes.
That's what I mean, two roads in, because we're gonna pass that document and such.
I did, and I came by yesterday,
Otherwise, you'll be back to
to get back to it, so.
reapproving the other.
If you want to step out, I can send out a call.
Get the cover letter
Maybe just wait, say,
to the commission, and normally when I have to, certifications from me, they'll send it to me.
Yeah, she.
So.
No, she actually called me and said it was on its way and told me that they had, it was a little late. registration,
Let's just have one discussion here first.
I did not know how to do that on registration, I couldn't figure out a way to do it, so, that part's missing.
Did we ever, consult or talk to K-Camp about hunting and trapping out there as far as liability? Have we had that discussion with them?
I don't think I ever did.
I suggest that we maybe talk to them before we, pass this, and so you've got a little verification from them that it does add liability or whatever. They have mentioned the idea of an event insurance. And I guess the one question I have is, I know Gail's been telling everybody when they have an event out there, they have to have insurance. We haven't really passed any resolution stating that. Do we need to? I mean, I think we maybe give direction there.
Are we required to? Didn't K-Camp tell us we had to?
What's the grant?
It's included in those rules.
It's including, what I'm saying is, the reason is that guy called me last night, he's having a seed meeting, they usually use the open area, he's got 30 to 50 people coming, and Gail told me he had to have event insurance, and it's gonna cost him $200.
That was, she called me and I inquired with Pat and.
See, it's an incredibly gray area, because if you talk to an insurance person, they're going to say, well, you better have it just in case, no matter what, two guys going out and throwing frisbee, well, you better get event insurance. I don't really know how we enforce it, especially if we're not taking reservations. But having the rules as we would have them with the requirement there would certainly put people on notice that they're not covered by our liability insurance. And the Tort Claims Act gives pretty good protections to recreation areas, the owners of those, governmental owners anyway.
Well, I guess the question of what you're saying is you can't really necessarily stop them, but if you have this in your rules and they don't have it, they're trying to take the liability off of us.
Well, I think the statute takes the liability off of us. I think the added thing it gives is notice to the participants out there that they shouldn't be relying on us to provide coverage, insurance coverage for their event. So, certainly I would think if you had a wedding out there, you need to have insurance. If you had a group that was meeting out there, like you said, that's seems to be a different sort of thing.
Are you gonna put a variance on that?
And that's the only reason we were erring on the side of caution, because he mentioned gray area, and that's the only reason why because we weren't, then I get questioned, what if 10 or what if a family shows up? I'm like, well, it's an impromptu, it's not necessarily a gathering, but, like a pre-planned group, when she told me it was like 50 people, I'm thinking like, well, where do you draw the line if you don't do with him? Then
Can we just-
wedding, it says, but that's the reason why.
Come up with a waiver form, whether it's 2 people or 200 people? It's just because it's sending out.
Why don't we just get a little information from K-Camp and let them give us a little specific direction, what satisfies them more than anything else.
But the problem with the waiver is we have to have somebody there that's, if you're not allowed in here, it's like sign this. And those generally aren't all that effective anyway, especially for minors. But you add a level of administration, and that's why I was having difficulty with something about registration, or just
K-Camp had indicated about event insurance, and that it wasn't necessarily picking on that group, it was just.
I'd be happy to communicate back with K-Camp to see, about the event insurance, and if they have some language that, you know, would be enforceable and then would satisfy them. But I can give you all the copies of that.
I've got two.
And then what did you think about the registration?
As far as we require it?
Yeah.
I think if you're a group or somebody staying overnight, I think you want to register, but I mean, it's just. One type of registration, I'd see.
And what's a group? 5 or more non-related people. I mean, you run into real problems.
Yeah. It has to be like some sort of organized event that was pre-planned or.
We're not a group, we're just, you know, me and these guys just happen to be here too.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna register, make them in the gate, obviously, but, you know, if anybody's like staying overnight or there's a pre-planned event, I would think that you want them registered. I bet that's only enforceable registration, I would think.
I could send an email to K-Camp about that as well, maybe we can put that on the list, or I don't know whether other counties are doing that, their county lights or not. Okay, I'm gonna step out and call Ms. Lori.
outlay that is projected to collect revenues for over 10 years, you have to pass a resolution, and basically boxing that money. Because I did send a budget to everyone. Towards the bottom, the landfill closure fund, for $15,000. Essentially, that should be a line item on the capital outlay for 10 years, so that we have money on hand to close and rebuild the new C&D under the new, plan.
Either you could, looking at it, assuming just putting it into solid waste capital outlay, otherwise you could create a solid waste capital outlay closure fund.
Special, and transfer.
This is a different type of capital improvement fund.
Right, and except that this one has, because it is $15,000 and it is for a 10-year savings program, if it needs to be put somewhere in a lockbox, it can't be used for any other means, and then once it's collected for 10 years, you can either renew it or, if for some odd reason that Atchison County is no longer interested in opening another landfill, that you have $150,000 that needs to be designated to something else. So I didn't know if you needed to, if it's just a line item and just put a sticky note on.
It's possible to take the lockbox.
Yeah, or there's anything statutory that makes you lock box it. I mean, each commission might change. You can start a fund, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And have a separate fund, and hopefully someone will be here with history to explain what it's there for, so someone don't delve into it.
Well, and that was why I was wondering if by resolution, anytime that came up, it reflected a Atchison County resolution that said to be saved or not touched or used towards the purpose of creating a C&D landfill fund not to be used for 10 years or unless, absolutely necessary. But, 10 years from now, somebody can look at it and say, okay, that's what that's for. And it's not something, if you have a shortfall 1 year, you don't dip into that, because if you dip into it now, you're just shortchanging or increasing what's going to need to be spent 10 years from now. Presumably 10 years, that's the suggestion. So, I guess we just start with the separate funds.
I think that's the only way you can do it. Otherwise you could leave it in. Either it's in capital improvement, its own fund, or the general capital improvement.
I think it'd be
solid
easier.
waste,
I think
or
you
you do
need
it.
to label it. I think you need to have a separate fund and label it as a landfill closure fund.
Yeah.
You put it in a capital improvement fund.
With a sub-line item of, that'll probably be best.
I don't know if you can put just a separate, I think it has to be in the capital outline improvement, you could do a line item that says landfill closure.
So, you can't create it.
I don't know, I could email Melanie and ask her for sure if she could.
Well, because essentially what I'm asking is, when we carry over a balance, I don't want that reflected in the unencumbered capital outlay.
You want
to transfer it out every year, so that it.
That's the reason you're expecting it each year, is to save up over, you're looking ahead 10 years, so that you have the money there, you can close. I understand it's just a matter of proper accounting procedures to.
Right. Well, I know, once that is fully realized, $150,000 should have some kind of explanation of why it's there and how it's been accrued over the years, so. But.
Do you know if that, some of that dirt scraper went into your capital improvement, was that transferred into there?
It is a separate, right now it's under sale of county property, and will probably be closed out into the capital outlay, improvement fund at the end of
gotta go back into capital improvements, doesn't it? Can't go back into anything else.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing
Solid waste isn't in.
That's true, that's true, that's right.
Mm. I think we're looking very good for the year, so I mean, if we wanted to, word about this.
What does the sale occur
March or April.
of this year?
Yes.
Yeah, it's March, April, somewhere there, March or April.
So,
Where is it at now?
it's sitting in its own, we have a separate.
Oh, the special, in the sale, okay.
Along with the Purple Wave equipment that we have, that we did sell.
From solid waste.
So those are all sitting there, they're not in our operating fund right now. And they will be closed out eventually, but I don't see why we wouldn't start looking towards some kind of like multi-department replacement where if we get something, then maybe road and bridge gets whatever we're not using, and kind of shifting all of that so that, we can have newer equipment without spending a lot of money, so.
Yeah, but we can't do that, can we? We can't take equipment that's selling some money.
You can
Sell it to road and bridge.
You can sell it to what we did with Mass Truck. You transfer funds, is what you do, from one account to another, and make, you get yourself in trouble, well, you guys can just have this.
Right, no, it
That's
would be for some designated amount that they purchased our vehicles. We got newer ones with like, instead of diesel, gasoline, so that they get those, which will be significantly newer than what they have right now. And then, any other major pieces of equipment, if we get it, we just rotate it to the road and bridge for, like I said, a predetermined cost, so that it is an actual transfer.
Yeah, you can get a pretty good estimate online, what that stuff's worth.
And then the final thing, I didn't, the suggestion of increasing the 16,000 for, summer help, or, one thing that I was, looking into is if the county ever went to just, hire an outside, company to do all our landscaping, so that we don't use all of our personnel and equipment, we outsource it as a package thing. It would be a good idea to have money set aside for that. If it were to be handled in-house or out-of-house, we have money budgeted for it, so.
Well, there was a couple of issues, Jeff had pulled it up on his iPad there, but I didn't see it until you sent me the hard copy, but, I do have a couple of questions on your budget. I do think that there needs to be just a little bit more. I think you've got that really cut to the bare bones, but why is the recycling, your current estimate, we're close to 30,000 and you're only budgeted 20 for 2015?
Presumably, the city, they're on track to have their ASLs and their curbside program up and running by January. At that time, we would reallocate or pull our commingled containers that we have throughout the city and either go to like a cardboard only. We would still endeavor in recycling, but we wouldn't have the same cans that we have, and we would try to have it so that Deckenbaugh picks it up and takes it elsewhere and it doesn't come to our facility. Whereas right now, we pay for the pickups and then we pay for transportation from the transfer station to the MRF in Johnson County. So, that's typically what we've spent now. We would like to, included in that recycling is the $650 for the glass containers, or, 2 containers, so it'd be $1,300 for glass containers, which saves the county money, and then money for the law enforcement or courthouse to have their cardboard only containers. CRH has expressed an interest in cardboard only, so it's basically a county recycling fund so that we can tell Deckenbaugh, have a service agreement for these locations, and Atchison County itself with its own offices start to do some recycling, and then from there we can see if there's any interest in anybody else and then, those being compacted into one trailer that amounts to $1,100 that we send out every month. So, the pickup cost and the disposal cost, whereas next year, we wanna move to Deckenbach pick it up, they take it elsewhere, we just pay for pickups. And we expanded from our 40-yard containers that we have, we get rid of those because the city's gonna have curbside recycling program. We're gonna keep the one at Effingham, because that's a good recycling opportunity, and then see where we can implement some cost-effective recycling within our own county offices. And then, like I said, if say BC was ever interested in getting a cardboard container for their cafeteria, it would be cheaper for us to go in-house on that and Deckenbach pick it up and take it elsewhere than for it to be included in a single stream and taken to our facility. So, that's the rough estimate. I don't think, the project that I have on deck right now shouldn't be anywhere close to that, but we'll see what happens if we.
With some unknowns, it might be wise just to budget close to where you're at this year, just to be safe with,
And typically, that was the old 1,800, or 18,000 for RSP, that's essentially same line item, it's just now done in-house. So, and on a personal note, I would like to get rid of those single stream containers because they fill up, people get mad about them, constantly having to move them for occasions. It would be nice for the city to just get its own recycling program and us move to something else more cost effective. So.
Your project, you lowered, I'm assuming, Martin, trash.
Mm-hmm.
That's lowered because of possible savings from the county lake.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we did remove the county lake until April 30th. The 2,300 under this year's year-end estimate is including that first 4 months of county lake costs. The 17.5 is what Martin's contract for just the Effingham station has averaged over the 4 years. So, and we haven't seen any noticeable changes yet in terms of how many containers we go through at the Effingham station, with it just being the only satellite. So that's the 17.5, assuming our current contract, which we extended till December 31st, and when we get that new one in, as long as it stays in line with that cost, then we can renew that contract. Hopefully we get a better rate, because that contract's now 5 years old, so maybe we can get something better. But that's what's budgeted for the Effingham trash disposal.
When they bring those in, do they weigh them or not?
Mm-hmm.
So you have, because we may actually be getting a little bit more tonnage, but if he's packing those containers full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, he went from like 2.3 to now it's 5.1, 5.2 tons per 30-yard roll-off. We've changed the equipment that we were using. So, we're getting a lot more compaction and subsequently fewer containers, fewer pickups. So, that is a bit of a bright spot.
Yeah, and a little bit helps.
It absolutely does. Which is why we're looking at saving quite a bit of money in some cost. And
what are you basing your tonnage on paying? Are you figuring 10,000 tons?
Right now, we're on pace to do 8,900 this year. So I just based it on 9,000 ton for next year. Even though all indicators say that we're probably going to do even less than 8,900 next year, but then again, you don't know. You don't know if Deckenbach finds it more cost effective to take things to our trash or to our transfer station, in which case we take care of it with a different fee anyway.
Right, but based on, have they raised that rate? Have they got the option to raise the rate?
They have to let us know 90 days prior to the calendar year. So joint committee, do you wanna just set a date and whenever I have?
Well, we just need to send notice and, you know,
We need to update it, maybe.
We need to update it.
Yeah, I mean.
yeah, just
I mean,
invite
I
them.
don't- Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, we still have fine to say, but I think maybe they just need to be aware and,
Let's make a hard date. The 22nd of this month, that would be next Friday. Not this one, but the next one, should give plenty of notice. Cause it will be the only time, the second time that the committee even meets, because essentially, there's only 2 or 3 things that we would really need to meet for the statutes.
so you know, when we was working on the budget, you don't have any problem with this? Just upping it that $15,000 or $16,000, just an event that you would have to have something, and it gives you just a little bit.
No,
Because I mean, as I look over here, I mean, you know, it's amazing how much we cut out of the fund, period. And I just hate to be, I mean, you know, a few thousand ton here and there can, you know, can change. Of course, here, you know, like I said, you got the tipping fee and stuff, but, that's a pretty drastic cut in the year.
Well, what we're looking at from the 2014 budget was totaled at $890,000, and the 2015 proposed budget $713,000, not including the $16,000. So we're looking at about $730,000. Would still be about a 20% decrease in 1 year, which is that's a pretty significant decrease. So, any precautions that you feel are necessary to make sure that we didn't cut too much, or that we're not trying to be too aggressive with, because 20% is still a good reduction. It's not a matter of trying to impress somebody with reducing to a certain amount. We make sure everything.
I have to admit, I mean, it's not bad timing, and honestly, you and the committee and the efforts of the commissioners to try to make it more efficient and cost effective, and all the municipalities who have agreed to the new terms of this, because as we go into the possibly update the joint communication system, it does free up more of the sales tax money that can be used for that, and I think everybody's a little happier when we can do that rather than put it on property tax, so.
Yep.
So I applaud you and the committee for that, but I just think I would feel just a little more comfortable that I was over here because you and joint communications, you know, you're kind of in your department of your own, and any shortfall kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. It's not like being in the county general where, you know, you can have 2 or 3 funds over and 2 or 3 funds under, it balances out, so.
And that would still be, you allocate the $16,000, but it would essentially be a part-time B, no benefits employee, so that we keep our employee benefits at $53,000.
Yeah, I think your projection was 53.
$52,002. And I better leave that $2 in, because I know a few people that will complain about that 1 cent off. But other than that, it'll just be interesting to see how the city changes its trash habits, the city of Atchison, with its recycling and its curbside pickups, and see how things change. And what I said in my executive summary is, hopefully next year we can get to a settling point where we don't have that massive, 10-20% drop we had
came off of peak year 14,000 ton, now you're down to 9 tons. I mean, of course, some of the assessment fee, it woke some people up as to particular businesses as to things that they could do, and they're taking some things for granted, and it kind of, some things come to light, and I think you see some other people doing the same things, even smaller businesses doing some things a little bit different, and I still burn 90% of mine, so I don't bother you guys if you don't have to. But I didn't get where you, I mean, we've got your expenditure budget, but where your revenues.
What's that on?
I think Jeff had them, and he plugged them in.
$294,200 in tipping fees. That's based on us collecting about 93% of 9,000 tons. So the tipping fees are not going to completely cover everything of that 320,000, which we do self-haul. And then the balance being made up in that $424,000. So $424,708 in sales tax, and then.
That's what I call 425.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 425, 295,000 in tipping fees. That's also assuming the city of Atchison paying the full 35 a ton.
No, I think my understanding is that was in their budget, that's what they had figured at this point.
In addition to the regular 412,000.
Yeah. What is scrap iron?
I did $20,000 of scrap iron.
That's pretty.
That's pretty standard. We've been 18, we've been 21, we've been about that. So. Pretty close, although with the tipping fee, if our tonnage goes down, our tipping fee goes down. If our tonnage goes up, our tipping fee goes up, so.
I think I had 789.
789.
375 on sales tax, tipping fee 294.2. Sales tax reimbursements from other cities 100,000. And that's 20,000.
You broke it down for different stuff.
Yeah, and then a higher portion is going into on sales tax to drug locations.
The only thing I'd say is, I mean, we don't want to get that, we want to use as low as we can there so it can get diverted to joint locations.
Correct. That's just to plug the numbers to give you basically just under 60,000 cash.
And that doesn't include what we carry over this year.
Correct. Yeah, that's the only thing I noticed in them was I didn't have any uncovered cash balance.
What we're also going to try to have is that the tipping fee just roll over into itself, whatever we generate in tipping fee invoices this year, it rolls over. So, because we weren't able to fully fund the Tepinbah invoices through tipping fee because we were 60 days behind, whereas this year we're going to carry over a balance on the tipping fee fund. So, solely takes care of the debt ball invoices, what we send out, and then everything else comes out of the sales tax. So,
Will we need to have that much sales tax go diverted for you? You projected 425, you got more than that, don't you, Jeff? Don't you have more like 475?
475. That's just what it's closed, yeah, we can divert it, I mean, it's.
Well, I think we have, once we know a little more about the joint communication, that's.
Correct.
We could probably alter that a little bit, and that gives us some flavor up there and stuff. But I think the key thing here is we have to make sure where we're using this much money, this money needs to stay in these funds. Whether it's a capital outlay or whether it allows you to have a higher account balance where you can lower a tipping fee for a year or something like that, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the intent of the whole thing, so, we don't want this money being transferred into something else, so. And in the same way with the joint communication, when we give the same direction, is that money needs to stay within its own entity, whether it helps lower the amount of sales tax that we have to utilize from all the entities, or whether you know, or and put it into capital outlay, so when you have to upgrade radios or upgrade equipment, it's there. And, it's a juggling act, I understand, so.
It's been a relatively easy one in our department, so.
How are you collecting that sales tax? I mean, years ago, when I first started, there was a certain percentage designated to each solid waste and joint communications. And then last year, we had a little different system, so now under the new system, do you provide an invoice or something to?
It's collected, it's an accounts receivable, it's collected to the treasurers, and then, the first 3 months of this year, it was put under the sales tax, and then the last, 4 or 5 months, or 3 months, it was kind of put elsewhere and kind of be reimbursed into ours. But we do have a sales tax, fund number that, as soon as we get the monthly allotments, then that just goes directly into the treasurer's office. It's usually, I think, about 40,000 a month, so.
What I need to look and see, what was this year's projection on sales tax, did you have?
589,000.
Yeah.
Because it was, 585, because we had 380 budgeted for tipping fees, so 585,000. So.
You talked earlier about, getting some equipment, so are you thinking about some equipment, getting everything you're looking for?
I know we had to slash it drastically from what was initially presented in the 2014 budget because of our change to agreement to the city's 1250. I think we should, with the employee reductions, we should make out even on that. We should have money left over that we originally put in there, then cut out of the budget, and then with the sale of the scraper, we should be able to have that reimbursed and
be able to access that.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, if you have any carryable funds, as long as we make sure they get revolved into your capital outlay improvement fund, then you can access them.
Mm-hmm.
They become a non-budgeted item, and then you can access them without having necessarily having any budget, so.
Well, the main thing is, I know Road and Bridge is well behind, and they've always expressed interest that whatever we can get rid of would be an upgrade for them. And we have a few items that if we used what money we have from the cost savings of this year, just get something newer so that we spend less in maintenance, then be able to take that old piece of equipment, take it over to Road and Bridge, it helps everybody out, so.
So you're thinking backhoe, pickup, what do you think?
2002, both are diesel. They don't really need to be diesel trucks, because, I mean, we basically use them as people carriers and commodity haulers. We don't really tow anything with them. So they can, as a cost savings measure, we can get newer diesel, or gasoline and save on fuel costs. Transfer those to the road and bridge department. That's just an idea.
How many miles we got on?
One has 126 to 200. It's the one with the cab on it, and then the other one has like 124. So, and then, you know, replace a fifth wheel on our semi, because we've actually had some issues with it. So, and that's like a $10,000 replacement to get a new. And then we'll see what we have left over, and if we can afford a newer backhoe, not necessarily like a 2014, 2015, but something that we don't have to spend nearly the maintenance costs on to keep it up and running. So.
Cat, aren't they starting with an hour buyback program too?
Starting with last year for buyback on backhoe, if I recall.
I think they both are.
I mean, that would be something that actually extra bridge could benefit a little bit, you know, maybe of course if they buy it back, I mean, you couldn't pass it down, that's the only thing.
Well, they could just offload whatever they had on the buyback program. And it would offset their acquisition of our stuff.
And, you know, talk about it, see how old their backhoes are, I'm sure they're gonna be a little older.
They indicated that ours, with the set amount of hours and age that we have on ours, they would still be an upgrade of what they had, so, you know. So. Do you need anything from me as far as contacting, property owners or getting quotes, or just send me an email saying, hey, so agrees, these are it.
Yeah.
Schedule.
I can't imagine how well that thing's going to work.
Could you stay around for about 10 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. We have an executive session and elected personnel for 10 minutes.
Okay.
We include commissioners, Pat, Chase.
Motion is,
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. 20 after.
I was wondering,
Why don't I have to keep the attachments and everything? I have so many papers. If nothing else, the KG is redundant about its paperwork process. I will get copies.
Like their solid waste violation.
The consent agreement to clean
Well, I
up.
mean, you signed one for the high risk, that was a consent one.
No, that's a
You're
permit.
talking about
That we didn't permit.
you're talking about what you were talking about earlier, that's one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize you to sign that consent agreement with KDHE, concerning the cleanup of some, potential hazardous, areas to meet our qualifications.
second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried 3-0.
two possible changes I would consider. I would delete number 4, that they are responsible for the budget. Because the next item down says it's responsible to assist, so I like that. I mean, that covers the category that they wouldn't have to necessarily have a budget. Does that make sense?
Well, number 4 states prepared annual budget for human resources department.
What's that?
Said prepared annual budget for human resources department.
Oh, that's for the department.
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. The department, that's good, that's right. The only other one I think someone recommended, was the minimum qualifications that we would say bachelor's degree, blah, 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 or related field is preferred. Period. And then demonstrate, and/or demonstrates. I think those are the only changes that
Yeah, degree in HRM is exactly really common, I don't think anymore. Should I see something like a business management degree with a social security or something?
Yeah, it's preferred, but it's not totally mandatory. Otherwise, I like it.
So am I supposed to make that change?
If you can just make that change, and then when we go to post it, as long as we know what it says, if you didn't read it back to us, or if we approve it, then we can just make that correction. You've done it on your computer, don't you?
Yeah, yes, I do. I don't have it up here.
Because I think we need to get that posted today.
Oh, I don't have the ability to change it. I don't know. Maybe Jeff does.
What do I have?
Oh, on your iPad, you mean?
Yeah, to make changes. I'll have to get to a real computer and do it.
Mine died.
You want this computer?
No, I don't have it on hand either.
Was it PDF when you sent it to me downstairs on my email?
So, bachelor's degree in human resources management, business, accounting, or related field
Is
is preferred, period. Or demonstrated progressively responsible supervisor experience.
Yep. I think that's what you told us before, best way to change
There probably shouldn't be a period, it's probably still remain a comma.
Yes.
Before 5.
Okay, you want to try to get posted today or tomorrow?
Thank you, that can be correct.
Yeah, probably get that to Wes, so he can post that. So he knows, post it the same place you posted it.
Yeah, I think it worked pretty good. I think he was very satisfied with.
It's 38 applicants for IT.
Huh?
38.
38 applicants for the IT position.
Okay, he put it in the Globe, so I seen it in the Globe.
I don't think he said he put it in the glove.
It was in the Globe. Dan?
Did he really? He's got $400 in Careerville. He said he got 25 applicants for Careerville there.
Oh, there was an ad in the paper.
Well, Sheila put hers in.
This was for IT.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember what date.
Mr. Chairman, if you're ready for motion, I would move to adopt the job description with those, that wording change. check and then let us know, outside of Friday, in fact, Friday afternoon, if that will get back to our needs.
She hasn't responded back, she just said she was out on an audit today, so she was gonna check back tonight and then relay it.
Do you have any dates on for the budget workshop?
We're waiting to
The rest
hear.
of the week, huh?
Yeah, you will be there,
You can either text me or, I think I can get my email.
we're kind of waiting to hear from Patsy's office, about that Bill's out on audit today, and we're hoping that be able to give us some feedback, because we got quite a bit of the information that we need.
Friday's holiday, I got appointments tomorrow and Thursday.
Well, I would think that I'll be back on a long time. What's that idea? I want to make sure we get a good look over it. We're a week later than what we anticipated. That's a lot better than having to go back and amend it or make some last minute changes after you've already published. So.
That'd be this Friday if we want to approve by the 26th.
I could meet, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday night, have a lease or something.
Just in order. Just, yeah, don't know.
Okay, this week, but next week is tough, maybe Monday.
But if Shannon numbers, we do it tomorrow, then we can get it Friday, to get it in Friday.
Depends on that. Depends on how more stuff we have to go back and redo. I guess we could.
I would prefer getting it in time, if we get it there correctly. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'd rather have it right. We could go ahead and tentatively say, set up meetings so the public can know, and then we have to cancel it, you cancel it. What's best? We just don't know. We'll see what happens.
Can you talk about yourself?
But I think Patsy and Rochelle were out on the line from what I got. Sure, or something, Steve.
Email us if she's got something. She's from Warren, if not, maybe we will watch the time you go back Friday.
I think, we'd ought to be back by right after lunch.
I think, yeah. I don't see how it could take. I can
I
see
would
how
think,
it could.
my personal opinion, 45 minutes would be maximum. Take longer to drive down there and back than it will be. Because I think they all got things in their schedule, they don't have, I'm guessing they didn't block off 2 hours for it, I guess.
still down in, corrections, or you up here in the courthouse?
I'm still finishing payroll.
Oh, you're still down doing payroll?
Yeah, bring it on the top.
Okay.
Unless he's got 10 minutes.
What's wrong?
Be about 10 minutes talk discussion.
Steve, you have like 10 minutes of time?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, would that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Why, I guess, had nuts for a while, but then, so what she does is go, we're pretty good.
Kyle said they switched over to router today, so I guess it's just a matter of a day or so before they're all working.
Your son's working all right for you guys too? None of them? Well.
Unless you wanna call, Connie or somebody.
Well, they work on payroll. What's going on with payroll?
Payroll this week.
Huh?
Payroll is this week.
Yeah, I thought he had finished like, there's like one thing that they're working on.
I don't know. 'Cause he's supposed to be gone, I guess, this week.
Mm-hmm.